This conference will now be recorded.
Well, I'll ask you.
Okay. So, sorry about that. Welcome, everybody, to Wednesday, May 4th, 2022 meeting of the Monterey Select Board here in Town Hall and remotely. My name is Stephen Weiss. I'm still the chair of the Monterey Select Board. And here we have Justin Maycock present. Don Weingold is nowhere to be found. So we're going to the first item on the agenda actually is I believe we're going to have to meet in an executive session. So this is under MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21, item number 3, to discuss legal strategy. Actually, we do have an attorney here. Mr. Pollard, is that correct?
Yeah, you need to make a finding that discussing the case in open session would jeopardize the time strategically.
So my question, Jeremiah, is the public entitled to know at least the subject matter that it relates to a particular lawsuit or a particular contract before you go into executive session?
We don't typically do that. I don't see any problem in telling John if the board has no objection to what we're talking about.
The board has no objection. By the way, Mr. Pollard is working on behalf of the town as an attorney. So when we are asking him legal questions, we're not just asking somebody. But the board has no problem to mention what regard it is. But do you feel strongly?
No, I have no problem. I don't think it.
Okay, so the board has no problem. So Pollard, Attorney Pollard, you can describe to the extent that we can put in public session.
There's been a decision in the Hume case, so we've got 30 days to deal with what we're going to do with that decision.
I'm sorry.
Hume?
Oh, the judge decided Hume?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Can we at least know what the judge decided?
The judge issued a ruling. If you can go to the land court, you can pull it up. They issued a ruling that is affirmation of the board's decision in part and a remand for further findings in part. And it's a decision that basically said that the board is correct in its decision depending on what the use is at the RV park. What we're gonna do with that
decision.
That's why.
Thank you.
Okay, so all right, so the public is satiated, and or at least, and so yeah, so
you're gonna do it online.
Right? We're going to also be kicking these folks out.
So you first need to make a motion to go into executive session.
How am I gonna run the rest of my life?
I know,
once I
without
leave this
me.
board, without Melissa. So I'd like to make a motion to,
I'll get it done, I'll get it.
to go into executive session, pursuant to MGL 30A, Section 21. Item number 3, to discuss the legal strategy. Do I have a second?
Or we're returning to.
And we will, that's right, we will be returning into public, we'll be returning to public session after this executive session.
Second.
Okay.
Roll call.
A roll call vote, yes, that part I remember. So Stephen Weiss, still the chair, says yes.
Justin Maycock, yes.
Yes, so, and that's the only people here.
And you are allowing Tom Sawyer to stay, right?
Yes, the board is allowing, so I move that we allow Mr. Sawyer to participate as he is germane to this decision-making process.
Susan, check back in a little bit.
Okay?
Is that a motion?
I made a motion.
That's a different login.
Yes.
Melissa?
No, it'll be the
Yeah.
same login, I'm just gonna boot everybody out, that doesn't belong.
yes to allow Tom Sawyer to stay.
Yes, okay, so we voted yes to allow Tom Sawyer.
Alright, so you.
We have the minutes reflect that, close the door, close the building. Okay, poof, we're in executive session. So, Attorney Pollard wanted to lay out the mission.
Okay. So, I can hear my reverb there, so it's gonna be really, hard to.
So I can sit there and mute while you.
So wait, she's gonna mute us, so there's no.
So there'll always be a delay, cause I have to mute them and.
Okay, that's fine.
I hate the sound of my own voice, I guess. All right, so we're good? Can everyone hear me? Good. So the judge issued a decision that is a bit surprising, in terms of the type of decisions that I'm familiar with the Dover Amendment. And when I use the word Dover Amendment, what I'm referring to is the provision in Massachusetts law that allows educational religious uses regardless of a town zoning. So it's just shorthand for that. So Dover Amendment means the protection that religious organizations have for their religious activities, regardless of what our zoning is. So the Dover Amendment cases typically will look at a set of circumstances, a set of facts, and there'll be a ruling whether that is a religious exemption, whether it be the height of a steeple, whether it be building a shrine in a setback, whether it be, you name it. It's a religious use or it's not. Here, the judge split the baby and said, yeah, the RV park for volunteers and workers is not a religious use, but if someone's participating in programs, it's a religious use. That is impossible for the town to deal with from an enforcement perspective. We're not going to have a building inspector or anyone for that matter hanging out up at Hume trying to figure out who's in an RV park in their, North Light camper or whatever it is. So to me, it's not a good decision. It's wrong. I can tell you that Hume is going to appeal. Hume will. I mean, I'd say it's 99.9% a chance that Hume will appeal. So I don't know what the board's pleasure is, but my recommendation is that you cross appeal, because there's no way for the town to distribute the resources it would have to do to figure out and parse user by user when someone's bringing one of these massive fifth wheels up to Hume, whether that person bringing that camper in is a volunteer, a worker, or a participant in programs. The testimony really was centered on the building out the RV park because they didn't want to build housing for volunteers and workers. So to me, the decision should have been up or down, one way or the other. It's either a religious use or it's not. And I've already told the board before, I think that Tom is familiar with my position on it. I think it's laughable to argue that an RV park is somehow intrinsically related to religious use. I think it doesn't even pass the red face test. And that's it. So now you have to figure out what you want to do because you're in flux in terms of counsel.
So, well, I want to get Tom's.
One more thing is I shared the decision with Melissa, and I also followed it up with an email because I know that there's been solicitations for new town council. What I wanted to be clear is I'm not willing to file an appeal and wait for someone else to come in, because the minute you file that appeal, you're brushing your neck off on the chopping block, because there's a bunch of deadlines that come right after filing that appeal. You have to send notifications as to what you're ordering for the record. You have to undertake expenses to put the record together. You have to track those dates religiously. The appeals court or rules are barbarically unforgiving, which is if you miss a deadline, even if the clerk hasn't notified you, you're still missing that deadline. So you have to check the docket. You have to see it every day whether the record has been assembled. And if I'm either in it or I'm not. I don't want to, you know, file something now and then have some, you know, waiting for someone else to actually do the work, because it's just too treacherous. And I've actually tried that before when I was a trial lawyer, and someone said, well, I'm going to get this person to do an appeal, and I ended up stuck with most of the filings for the appeal.
I guess, okay, so I've got two questions, and then Tom, I'd like you to weigh in. The first one is, can we wait until Hume appeals to appeal? That's my first question. The second question is, how long do we have to make a decision to appeal?
You have 30 days to appeal. Hume is, I do not recommend waiting for Hume to appeal, but to answer your question, yes, if you get an appeal, you have an additional 14 days, I believe. Hold on one second. I'm going to grab the rule book. It's right here. Pretty sure it's 14 days to do a cross appeal. But, you know, if you wait for them to appeal and they don't, and they might not, you know, they might, Alex Glover's telling me they're going to appeal, but they could look at it and say, well, how is anyone ever going to know whether we have a worker, a volunteer, or a program person in the actual RV? So, or the other thing that they applied for were the mobile units as well.
Am I on?
Go ahead.
Tom, what are your thoughts on this?
On the practicality of trying to just go with what the land court decided, I agree with Jeremiah that it would be near to impossible. I mean, we would end up relying on Hume's good faith effort to police that. And I mean, they've shown to be a good neighbor, but they've also given their desire to expand and expand the use of that RV park should it be approved. Separate from that, the biggest issue for the planning board, and if I can speak for the whole board, is in our bylaws. It's expressly pretty clearly stated that trailer parks are not allowed in Monterey in any district. And should this be allowed under a religious exemption, I think the fear would be if they were to sell or something, you've got a 500-person resort for whatever application for someone that was to buy that property if Hume decided to go back to California and do their business there, and you'd have a precedent of a trailer park now for open use. So that's
Just to follow up, it's 30 days. If timely notice is filed by a party, any other party may file a notice of appeal within 14 days of the date in which the first notice of appeal was filed. So it's a cross appeal is 14 days. So.
Put me on again?
Yeah.
Okay, so my next question is to Attorney Pollard. How much how much will it cost to file an appeal? I mean, to go through the appeal process.
So you have the filing itself is once the record's assembled, it's $300. Assembling the record itself is an expense. I believe that we had ordered all the transcripts for the request for rulings and findings. So I don't think that's going to duplicate. And then the largest expense is going to be, preparing an appeal, which is you're drafting the memorandum, your tables of authorities. You're basically publishing an appeal. And I do not use. Most people who do these appeals use third parties to bind them. They send them out to people who do this in Boston and stuff. They bind the appeals. I went ahead because I did so many appeals when I first was doing municipal work, and I was a criminal appellate lawyer at the same time, that I went ahead and bought the binding machine. So I bind those in-house, but I would bill the time for binding them because I basically have to shut the office down and pay my staff to do that.
So, can you give us a number in general of how much
It's however long it takes. I think it would be 2-3 days to do the appeal. You'd be paying me full days at 8 hours, and then I can bill the staff for helping me at $30 an hour basically.
And then, so the total amount?
I don't want to give you.
I know it's $1,000 and $10,000. So you tell me.
I give you a total amount, and then someone's going to say I went over it, right? Or
I'm not.
Can you give a range or something, Jeremiah?
Sure. For an appeal like this, I'll do a quick. So let's say. I'd say you're looking at $3,500 to $4,000 for an appeal. And of course, that's on the high end.
So I'm not familiar with the process. Once an appeal is submitted, it goes back to the land court and they just re-rule. Is there another trial that we'd have to have you go and represent us in Boston or Zoom, however that goes? That would be additional money.
So this is how an appeal typically is processed. You file your appeal. You have to work with the other attorney to decide what the record's going to be. In this case, it's going to be everything. It's going to be a massive record. It's going to be a real thick one. So the idea for me would be to have Alex Glover be the first appellant, so that she has to assemble the record, and I don't put that on the town. But I'd still go ahead if that doesn't happen and we put the record together. So the record's going to be this big, huge binder, right? And then we brief it. We have, once it's entered, you have X amount of days to file your brief. Again, it's another 30 days. And then I would be the cross appellant. I would respond, and we brief it. And if the appeals court feels that it's not something that's easily decided and a decision that they don't call you to Boston, they'll issue what's called a 128 decision. It's just a written decision where you don't have oral argument, and they'll decide it. Both of us both the lawyers are going to be agreeing that this should not be a split baby, that it should be it's either a religious use or it's not. And I think that's the one thing we're going to be agreeing on. And if they feel as though this is something that warrants argument and a published decision, we have to go to Boston and argue the case in front of the appeals court. I think that they've still been doing that remotely, but I don't know if they're going back to in person.
So all that would be on top of the 3,500 to 4,000.
That's my range. I think you might get a little higher if I have to go to Boston to argue the case. That's going to add another. I said 2 to 3 days to put this together. If I have to go to Boston for our oral argument, you're looking at another day on top of that. But that range was for everything.
And then after that, they'll either keep it as is, or they'll decide that the baby should stay together, to use your metaphor.
Yep.
and they would decide which way the baby, which parent the baby goes to.
That's right.
And then depending on who got the baby, then there would potentially be another appeal for.
Right. Right. So if it's affirmed, then we go back in front of, if the appeals court says the judge was right, we have to go back in front of the planning board and modify our decision to approve site plan in so much as workers or volunteers are working there. Okay. If not, if they say no, it's a religious use, it doesn't come back to you. If they say, bringing your fifth wheel with your truck to the woods to camp is not a religious use, then nothing happens. It gets overturned, and so much of a decision that left a toehold for Hume to have this camper park is gone, which is what we'd be seeking, that the last of those alternatives.
So is the financial burden lower on the town if we wait to see if Hume will appeal? And if Hume's appeal is kind of on the same basis that they need to say yes or no and not split it down the middle, what's the, I guess, additional purposes of the town appealing the decision?
Because the only concern I have is missing the deadline. Once you miss the appeals deadline, you're out. So yes, and to answer your first question, yes, I do believe that if I have opposing counsel assembling the record, it's going to be less of an expense. But that's not the lion's share of the work. That's really just putting together I can tell you right now, Alex is going to send that to Heritage Press or something like that, and that's a big ticket item. They're not cheap. They'll charge you, that's in the thousands to bind it. I save money for my clients by binding it myself, but it's probably something that I've given myself a headache. I probably shouldn't have bargained for doing it, because what happens is basically I turn my office into a printing press for a day, and I had to do it yesterday because I had an appeal. So I'm fresh off of the fun of turning my this office you're looking at into a printing place.
Okay, so can I vote? Am I on?
Yep.
Okay, so look, let me just give you my take on this, for everybody. Look, the town of Monterey has a right to defend its bylaws, and this is what we're doing. It would be, I agree with Attorney Pollard that it would be impossible to enforce or to decide who is there for religious use and who's not there for religious use. And I guess I'm naive because in thinking that somebody would actually rule that, that we would be put in that position. The fact of the matter is, there's a bylaw in place for a reason. There's nothing wrong with saying everybody needs to follow that bylaw. I understand the Dover Amendment, messes with that. I think this is something that we need to get a determination on. We've spent a lot of time in it, but I think it's something that it's not for just this agreement, this decision, but it's also for the future. We do have Hume's presence, and we may have other institutions as well that may also seek a special exemption. So my motion would be to give Attorney Pollard the ability to file the appeal, and I will go on the floor at town meeting. We might have to raise the budget for that. No.
Jeremiah, would this be done before June 30th? And you'd be billing us before June 30th?
Boy, that's a good question. Probably not, but if people really got their act together, there could be There could be some work before that. I'm telling you, we will not be briefing it before June 30th.
So maybe half of the expense might be billed before June 30th?
Let's look at do you have the decision in front of you?
No, I'm having printer problems this morning.
Okay. Let me just give me 1 minute, if you will. I'll look up when I sent the decision to Melissa. I want to see what the date on the decision is, and then I can answer that more intelligently.
Jeremiah, your email's dated the 27th of April, and it
Okay.
looks like the email you got was the same day.
I just want to see what her decision said. So they emailed me the decision, so I'm going to go on the date that I got it. It is April 27th. So an appeal would be by May 27th, right? And then we're assembling the record. I think that the transcript's done though. So it would be a question of having the land court certify all the other filings that we did. We did a bunch of them. There's a ton of exhibits. It depends on how fast the land court does that. If the land court certifies that the record is assembled like a week after these appeals come in, there could be some work, but I just don't see briefing before June 30th.
But you would have some time, right? I mean, you'd have filing the appeal, so I mean,
Yes.
maybe $1,000 worth of work?
Yes, because I'm going to be preparing a notice of appeal. I'm going to be preparing a notice I'm going to be working with Alex, even if she's assembling the record, even if she files the appeal, we have to confer, and you have to set off this list of issues that are going to be designated for appeal, and then from there you have to agree on what the record's going to be.
Okay, so, all right, so budgetarily,
I think you're okay, because you still have, I think, at least 5,000 left for this year, so if he's saying 1,000, and then we've got the monies for next year.
okay,
Okay.
so we don't have to, so we won't have to necessarily.
I don't think you should have to.
Jeremiah, one other question that I have is, it seemed to me that based on the current decision, Hume would have to come back to the planning board with a new application. The planning board wouldn't have to change the current or the existing decision. Is that the case?
I think they're going to have to modify their application, but the board, absent a reversal, would have to modify its decision, which is just a flat no on the RV trailer issue.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I guess, having given it some thought, if they came back with a new application with those stipulation, with that direction from the land court, my opinion, not the board's, would be to try and put a condition on that approval that if they sold the property, they would have to demolish it or something like that. And I'm sure that would not go well based on experience with their other applications where we tried to put conditions on.
I think this is assumed, but I just want to make sure everyone understands that if there's an appeal, that's all stayed. So the judgment stayed pending the appeal.
Yep.
Okay, so,
So you have a motion to
so
file?
I still have a motion on the floor, I can restate it.
Yeah, please restate it.
Okay, that we hire, Attorney Pollard to file an appeal of this, of this lawsuit, and we have him do it, immediately.
And you want me to file, to process the appeal, handle the appeal, right?
Yeah, handle all of it, regardless of if there's other counsel that's hired for the town, that this is still, to continue your metaphor, it's still your baby, so.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because if someone else hops in on this, they're gonna have to read the whole transcript of a 4-day trial.
So I will second that motion, Steve. I kind of asked this question before, but would it make any sense for the town to wait a couple weeks to see if an appeal comes in? Would that save us some money, or is that a bad idea?
It's I'll leave it to you guys are my boss, all right? If you want me to wait a couple weeks, I'll wait a couple weeks. I don't like waiting a couple weeks because I start playing with deadlines when I do that. I can wait until I get closer to the deadline, but I'm not gonna wait to day 30 to file that appeal.
Also complicate the payment of it, because then you'll have to go to town.
And you've had conversations with Attorney Glover at this point?
I
So
have.
do you have a sense for her direction, or?
Yeah, she was hopping mad when she read the decision. So I think that the chances that they will appeal are pretty good. I mean, they got quite the war chest out in California. So but I don't know. I mean, I've heard people tell me they're gonna appeal and then they don't appeal.
Tom, do you, before, even though I have a second, do you concur with my motion?
I do. I wanted one clarification from you, Jeremiah. So we're going to file this appeal by May 29th, but we have a land court decision. So are they allowed to put in another application under this ruling? And
No,
then
I
the
mean,
planning
they're
board
allowed to.
would have-
They're allowed to, but I would tell you to do the same thing and say it's under appeal. We're appealing. So I don't expect that to happen.
Yeah,
But
Justin,
maybe
I
they
agree
will.
with that, with your.
Yeah. So the other piece is that John Jablowski he's no longer with them. So this was kind of something that was that he was championing while he was directing it. So that might change things. I don't know. I know that because I ran into him out and about in town, and he said hi to me and gave me my condolences for when I lost my father and told me that he's not working at Hume anymore.
Yeah, I know he's retired. Yeah, he told me he's retired. So I think if it seems like we're all on board with it, so, and there being a second, I would vote yes.
Yes.
Okay, so, the,
And I'll hold off trying to wait for Alex to do the appeal. If I feel the deadline breathing down my neck, though, I'm definitely gonna drop it.
okay,
Well, if we're gonna, maybe I didn't hear the whole motion. Was there a stipulation in the motion to wait, or was it just to hire Jeremiah to get going? Because it seems like if we're gonna do it, we might as well get it going.
yeah, the motion was to do it as
Immediately.
immediately. Only because, if we're convinced that we need to do it, there's also a budgetary concern, because we need to have, we need to pay for it in, part of it in this fiscal year, and part of it next fiscal year. So, just is because, I mean, not that it's a budget issue, but it is, it doesn't make any sense to pile it onto the new fiscal year. I mean, it's not good for taxpayers.
All right.
We're gonna file, so file away. Tom, is that okay? You can say your
Yep.
objection.
I'll update the board, and Jeremiah, if you need anything from us, let us know.
Understood.
Be updating the board. Should Tom be updating the board?
Okay, so that's a good, so Justin raised something interesting, so, yeah, about disclosure, to the board, since it's still part of a legal strategy. Shall we wait, can we wait until you've actually filed the appeal to update, we don't wanna hold things.
I think the board has a right to be brought in on it. I just can't keep working for the board until I'm authorized by you guys, and I'm happy to pop in on their meeting if they want me to tell them what's going on.
Okay, then you would have that, Tom, you'd have to have that in an executive session, not in public session, a discussion with the board.
Yeah, I mean, what updates will you, well, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. We can do that.
You understand, it's still sensitive, you don't wanna tip your hand, until it's actually filed. At least that's my understanding. So it's not for public disclosure until it's filed.
It really might be, it might be more a fruitful meeting once we get into it, to tell them what's going on.
Yeah, there's probably nothing you need from us. You've got all the information from before. It's just.
And the decision is a public record. You can go on Hume's, you can go on the Hume docket on the land court, type in Hume Christian Lake Camps and print the decision out. So anyone can see it. That's why I didn't have any problem telling Don and everyone at the public session what had happened. It's all readily available and viewable to the public.
But just the decision to appeal should be kept.
This stuff is, I mean, what we're doing strategically, I mean, that's for our ears only, right? Especially when you start talking about, hey, might want to wait a little bit to see if they have to assemble the record, what have you. Those are things that are strategy, and you obviously don't want to tip your hand. That's what executive session's about. If you're going to put an offer on a piece of property, you don't want the person you're going to be offering on to know what you're going to be offering and what your range is. So it's important to keep these things in executive session. The towns aren't hobbled to do absolutely everything in the public.
Okay, so we understand, and we've concluded this bit of business. Thank you all for participating, thank you for accommodating us, and we're gonna move out of the executive, I vote to move out of the executive session and back into public session.
Second.
Stephen Weiss says yes.
Yes.
Justin Maycock says yes. So we're gonna do that.
All right, have a good day.
Okay. You gotta come and get his hat back.
Is Jim also? Okay.
Mr. Wolf.
Wolfman's here.
Wolfman Jack's still alive.
Save a seat for it?
Yeah, you can have that. While we're in executive session, we could have approved the executive session minutes, but we didn't do that. So we're now back in public session. Welcome back, everybody. Town of Monterey. Town administrative items, new business, item number 1, to review and sign the master plan agreement.
So the planning board is recommending accepting it. It would be the final pages that you have there, the one that says agreement for creation of master plan. That
Tom,
Berkshire Regional Planning.
okay, does Tom want to speak to it since he's here?
Sure. So we sent an RFP out to several firms, received no replies back. Based on that, one of the people that we had sent the RFP to was the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission. We had a session with the director of the Planning Commission and came to terms on something that we could agree on for them to propose within our budget. They came back with the proposal that you have. The planning board has read it and is on board with proceeding with the master plan effort at the $40,000 price tag, which is the amount that our grant was for. Duration would be about a year, and looking for as much town participation as possible. So I'm recommending that you approve. I don't know that it's, Melissa, is it a requirement that the board approves it, or is it a courtesy?
They need to sign the, agreement with BRPC.
So I'm
I would-
recommending that you sign it and let us get going on the effort.
It all sounds good to me. I would move to table this until next week, when I've had a chance to review the proposal.
So is it time sensitive?
He did ask for, Tom Mitsuko from Berkshire Regional Planning Commission did ask us to get it back to him. It's been 2 weeks since we received it and got it in front of you. We probably could wait for next week, and I'll give him a heads up if the likelihood is high. So I think we're okay.
Yeah, so, one of the benefits of having boards and commissions, especially with folks that are so dedicated like Ms. Sawyer, is that, they do a lot of, we ask for their recommendations based on their review. There seems like there's nobody else out there are no other operators out there that were interested in participating in this. I'm confident that, with Mr. Sawyer's recommendation and the board, and the planning board's recommendation, I'm confident enough to sign my name to it. Master planning is in Monterey is long overdue, and BRPC, is obviously a well-known entity in the town as far as, I think they did the last master plan, did they? I believe they did the last master plan.
So I trust and respect the recommendation of the planning board. I just want to, make sure that the contract is in, is, I wanna go through it, and I only got it today, so I haven't had a chance to review it, make sure it's done.
Yes.
Did council review this contract for the planning board? And if not, should you send it to council for review?
Did, Tom, was this contract sent to town council?
The RFP did this contract. I believe, Melissa, this is going to follow if it's approved, this is a proposal and the contract would follow our standard contract?
No, this contract is for BRPC to do the work. And it has not been vetted by council.
Okay.
Then I make it, all right, so I make a motion to send it to town council, current town council, for vetting, and then, please make sure that you put this on the agenda for the new board. Unless this board has, for some reason, has another meeting.
Second.
Okay, so, yes.
I'll inform the planning commission that we should have a decision probably next Wednesday. Melissa, is that when the next meeting will be?
Yep.
I don't think it'll be an issue.
If for some reason this board meets before the 10th, and I will put it back on the agenda, because I don't think any time should be wasted, certainly. Not that I want to sign myself to a $40,000 contract, I'll probably sign Jim's name instead.
Mr.
Okay, so let's continue. Item number 2, we received a bid for the Kenworth. Where is that? Do we have,
Was done through municipal,
okay,
it was posted for 3 weeks. And actually, I think we received a total of 33 or 34 bids. A few people drove all the way from Pennsylvania to take a look at it, generated a lot of interest. This would go to a small landscape firm in Rankin, Mass. It was high bidder at $40,200.
okay, so again, that was the high bid.
It was the highest bid, yes.
So, I would make a motion to accept the high bid for the 2007 Kenworth, at $40,200.
Second,
Yes?
yes.
Put the money on the desk. Good. When does that,
He will pick it up as soon as I get all of them, and he'll start making arrangements for that.
okay, good. Oh, and while you're here, item number 3 is a follow-up on the Driscoll property at 402 Main Road.
I actually, it's 402 Main Road.
Oh.
It might be my mistake for writing 412 in my email, but
No wonder nothing's getting done over
I
there.
did go down there the following day, and it was what appeared to be a relatively easy repair. So we added some large stone, 6-inch size stone to the washout that he discussed with us. And picked up all of the logs and the brush that were sort of laying there between him and his neighbors, which I believe is 394. This is actually kind of like on the edge of the driveway to 394 maybe. And we added, he talked about adding a guardrail. It's kind of questionable to me whether it would help or not. Those guardrails were placed with a design from Mass Highway. So we had some large boulders that we placed there, and it was a relatively quick, simple, easy fix, and I think Mr. Driscoll was pretty happy with the results.
Have you contacted, the water company in regards to their,
I did actually have a conversation with Mark Maycook and Del Martin, and we have come up with a couple of ideas on how to divert the water from going over the bank the next time that they flush. And, it opened up some nice dialogue where we, we're there to support them in their efforts as well, so. And there's 2 trees there as well, and, our tree contractor, John Fields, has looked at them, and he's gonna incorporate that with a little bit of other work that we have to do, so by sometime in June, we expect it those to be done.
terrific. I think we solved all of Mr. Driscoll's concerns, and obviously we'll hear from him if we didn't. And it seems like this is an opportunity to continue some dialogue between operations and other departments in Monterey.
It all worked out.
It all worked out. Wow, imagine that. Wait, where's the Berkshire Eagle for that one?
People helping people.
Yes. Okay, well, that's terrific. Thank you for participating in that and helping us get through all of that.
Okay,
Thank you.
I think that's all I have here today.
Yes. I think so.
Okay, love to stay in chat, but.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so, new business number 4, the reappointment. So I make a motion to reappoint Dave Dempsey to the conservation equipment. That's until
September 15th.
September 15th.
Second,
I go yes.
yes.
From Dave. I make a motion to appoint Noel Wicke, sorry, I apologize. Noel Wicke, to the conservation, and that is until,
3-year term.
that's for a 3-year term.
Second. Till May 4th, 2025. Second,
I vote yes.
yes.
Welcome, Noel, Noel, sorry. Firefighter appointments, we have 2, Kyle Pettibone,
And Darien Houlihan, I make a motion to appoint Pettibone to, as a firefighter town of Monterey.
Second,
I vote yes.
yes.
I make a motion to appoint Darien Houlihan as a firefighter for the town of Monterey.
Second,
I vote yes.
yes.
Yes. Congratulations. Welcome to the fire company. Okay, so item number 7. As everybody knows, or most people know, the current council has they were going to resign from serving the town of Monterey. And I understand that they have committed themselves to the end of the month if we needed them. Is that correct?
Yes, that's my understanding, until the end of May.
Unless we find someone sooner.
Unless we find somebody soon. So the problem of not having council after town meeting is not essentially an issue. However, we have received 2 inquiries for 2 individual firms that would like to be the new town council of Monterey. One of them is from Attorney Koppleman, who actually met with the board previously and sent his resume and a letter which we've had time to review. Right?
Mhm.
The other one, I guess.
I didn't put them in.
Oh, you didn't put them in there,
You
okay.
had them last week.
All right. So the other one I read. So the other one is from, mispronounced this, is from Miyares Harrington. They are a firm that, it's my understanding, while they're located, Mr. Koppleman is located in Boston, I believe. The other firm is located in Wellesley. However, they currently provide legal services to the town of Stockbridge. Right? Now, I've got no, I have an opinion on who the town should do it, but Justin, but you're gonna be sitting, but it's entirely up, I'm gonna leave it up to you, if you, now that we have some breathing room over here, if you'd like to push this over to the new board, certainly do.
Yeah, I think that was kind of, contingent upon KP staying through the end of May, so that's what I would like to do is have it be a decision at the next select board.
Okay, so I would make a motion that this be tabled, and be on the agenda for the, you're gonna have a lot of things on the agenda. Oh, I'm sorry, Susan, yes?
Second to your motion to table it to the next select board meeting.
Well, okay, now we have discussion. Yes, Susan,
Just a quick question. Has anyone reached out to Stockbridge to inquire if they have been content with the services offered and to determine if the Miyares and Harrington offered them the same financial package, as it were, and whether or not they're paying the same amount Miyares and Harrington offered for travel expenses?
I have not.
I haven't.
Sorry?
I have not either.
Okay, so that's a very good suggestion. Obviously, when it comes to compensation, the town has a budget. We've raised and appropriated, and we were going to raise and appropriate. So we set the limit most times. But as far as to determine, I don't know, those the.
I'll give them a call. Justin, do you want it to be interviews for next week, or do you want me to set it up for the following week?
I think, let's see.
Or a separate day completely?
May 11th, the following week is the 18th, and then the 25th. I don't think that there's a rush. I mean, there is a rush, but I think interviews on the first meeting of the new board might be, a lot. So maybe we just put on, a separate date at the end of next week or the beginning of the following week, or on the 18th, which would give us a week to, sit on the interviews and still make an appointment on the 25th. As long as they can make the interviews. Now, I know Attorney Koppleman made a point of coming to town hall physically last time, and, cause he said he likes town council to come in person. I would wonder if he would wanna come in person again. It seems like that's quite a drive to interview for a second time within a year at the same town. But maybe it could be up to the board to review that interview and maybe follow up, with other questions. I don't wanna put him on an unlevel playing field by not granting him another interview, but we do have that interview from last time available, for what it's worth.
And you have Attorney Pollard's interview from last time as well.
Yes.
Can I also put out there that, when you go forward to do the interview, you insist on reviewing the partner at Miyares and Harrington they are putting forward as our lead counsel? Because that is the person we'd be working with, and it's, I think, very important that they confirm that that would be our lead counsel and that we interview the lead counsel and not some other person in their firm.
So, but by the way, the some other person last time was the president of the firm, so.
It doesn't matter, you don't work with them. So while that's
Yeah,
fine, that they're there, and I think it's fine for there to be more than one person in the interview, I think it's mission critical that the person you will be primarily working with is part of the interview. Just my thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's reasonable. I mean, maybe that would have put us all on a better footing with KP if we'd had that discussion.
Maybe not.
Anyways, well, I seconded your motion to table this to the next board.
Okay, so I vote yes.
Yes.
Public records determination, SPR 22-0805. Boy, I won't miss that. What?
Just, I won't read through the whole thing, but this was a petition received, that John Silbert filed, and they have concluded that no violation of general law, chapter 66, section 10, has been asserted by Mr. Silbert in his appeal petition, and therefore they are unable to issue a determination at this time, so, and they are considering the matter closed.
Like people say, oh, prepare for annual town meeting.
Didn't know if you wanted to discuss the town warrant or not. I'm gonna work on a little cheat sheet like that, basically had what we went over last night, so you can remember whose COLAs and who's what, and I'll send it to you before Saturday.
Okay, I mean, I think in general, this is why it's good to have select board members participate in the finance committee meetings and in the budget, because we have an understanding of how things have been crafted and where we end up with these numbers, because we'll be challenged on perhaps a couple of the numbers. But I don't know, I'm confident in my understanding of the budget and how we got there.
And so the only article that I can remember that's kind of different this year that we proposed as non-monetary is about the bylaw review committee, which is a pretty simple explanation, which is that the select board cannot delegate the authority to add articles to the warrant to another committee. Only the select board has the final authority to add articles to the warrant, other than the citizen petition. So, that's a simple explanation if anyone asks about that.
And that's yours.
Well, it's the board.
No, I'm saying that we also, part of the discussion of town meeting, sometimes we assign who's gonna.
Yeah, I can speak to that briefly, if anyone even asks.
Yeah.
And I I can just print out Attorney Riley's, writing on an issue. Since he is the lawyer. The police said that they're taking care of parking, which is good. So we don't run into any parking issues. And as far as people that get the microphone, I know Hillel volunteered, and it sounds like his wife may also be willing to do it if we don't find somebody else. So that would be good for that.
And you read the school, we had a discussion yesterday about the school and some of the reasons why their number went up. And as far as the other increases, I think the chief will be there to explain, the police reform, if people have a question about that. The fire chief will be there to hopefully, Sean's gonna be there, right? To discuss, the shift program, if people have questions about that.
And Laura Rodriguez said she's not available for the school committee. She's not available, she won't be at town meeting, but Jean Burke will be to discuss school, to answer any questions of the school, which is good.
Good, and I think we had a good rundown yesterday with the finance committee, and, well, not that there were a lot of people here, but, anyway, listen. Every time I think that it's easy to understand and nobody's having problems, people have problems, every time I think people are gonna have problems, they don't say anything. So I'm not a good judger at what's gonna happen in town meeting, but this is fairly straightforward, and I think it's reasonable, and we have answers, and we, that's also part of their being a board. That's why it's important to show up as a board, all 3 board members if possible, because we each answer questions that the public may have. So most of them put together a little cheat sheet. We're not cheating, it's a little informational sheet for some ideas, but I'm confident. I'm as confident as Don was during the last meeting.
About what?
Town meeting.
They get
All right.
They get to decide the budgets.
Forget it. Okay,
Simple.
comments or questions from the public? No, yeah, that's it, you're all questioned out, Susan? You wanna approve some minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, let's approve some minutes.
See you guys.
Oh, really, you don't want I have something at the end.
You have something at the end?
Yes, I do.
Gonna make a Steve speech.
I'm not gonna make a speech, but I'm gonna read something, it's very poignant. But you can
I'm
leave if
here.
you like.
I'm here, no.
I can do it now, and then we can do minutes.
Oh, good.
No, I want to do minutes first, I wanna make you suffer. No, they should be quick, 4:13, Michelle thinks that we did not get her, that's fine. Multiple article, get back on with the confusion over use of ARPA funds, particularly town meeting, except the Millpool article, that's fine. Justin, what did you take out? Justin's preference is Michael Harrington, that's fine. That's fine. Based on tentative receipt for ship, that's fine. Town council resignation. Town meeting, that's fine. Town in litigation, all right. Agreed. Fine.
I'm fine with all of the red marks, if you're fine with all of the blue marks.
Fine, I'm fine. So I make a motion that we
that we approve of meetings, 10 minutes of 4/13/22.
Second,
Yes,
yes.
as amended by Justin and myself. 3/23/22.
And we are going to not do the minutes of 4/27/22 today.
Okay,
We're
so,
not ready.
wait a minute. Did I see these?
Yes, we got them last week. They're from executive session.
Sorry.
If you think that you're able to read them and approve them,
You do realize it's 11 pages, right, Steve?
All right, you know what, I will come back to this and do this at the same time, 4/27, because I can't.
well, we can, I mean,
Well, we'll come up with a date for 4/27 and this.
well,
And the executive session that we had, just,
well, the
yeah.
minutes of today. I think it's okay to let the next board approve sets of minutes from this board. I remember when I got on last year, if I'm not mistaken, I thought that we had minutes from the previous board.
They
And
can
I
only
just,
be approved by the people that were there.
What?
The minutes.
Yeah.
So if John isn't on there, you and Steve need to do it. You can make a really quick meeting if you want. You can do it remotely if you wanted, just with this on there.
Yeah, let's
Well, I,
do it on Friday.
do we
do it on Monday.
need to,
You don't want an open meeting law violation filed for not
well, I
putting
think,
them in a timely fashion.
Oh, come on, I want.
Who's at the 3/23 one? Was it everybody?
yes, it was, 3/23, 12 PM is everybody.
No, only 2 select board members.
No, President Steve Boyce,
Oh,
chair.
no, John Weingold was there.
You can always wait until John decides to appear and just have you and John approve
That
it.
may never happen.
Or you can just schedule a meeting for Monday morning and
Monday morning, let's do the last 2.
That's not convenient with work, schedule, but
Monday afternoon.
I'm not trying to not do this, I just,
Steve can always give me his changes and you guys can be aware of those changes when you and John look at them. You know, Steve can
I'll
give
give
me
you
his
tomorrow.
edits. He just won't vote on them because he won't be here if you're not gonna have a meeting prior to then.
yeah, I mean,
I think we should tie it up in an email.
I'm not opposed to meeting again, I just,
Okay, why don't we do this? Well, we're gonna table this, you decide when there's a good time for a half an hour meeting to do this, between now and May 10th. And, I would,
with 48 hours notice, so.
48 hours
You
notice.
can't have anything on the 10th because you can't hold it the day of elections.
Gotcha, okay, so.
You could do it in the morning before 12 on Tuesday. So if you wanna throw some dates around, maybe after.
Well, there's not really choices, there's after this meeting after this time on Friday for 48 hours, or Monday, or before.
12 o'clock on.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Why not move to approve the minutes, subject to, if you find there's some really, really important thing that has to be changed, the calling of another meeting.
Don, they're 11 pages long.
I
Steve hasn't read them.
I gotta take a deep dive into this. I appreciate your recommendation on here.
You know, we make a little bit of a thing here about the minutes.
I understand that.
Well, I will,
At the planning committee, our minutes run 15 to 20 minutes.
I understand.
And they're brought up, there's a motion to approve. The chair says there are a couple edits I'll take care of, they're voted on, and we move on. I mean, suppose there's a little error in there of some sort.
It's not an error. Unfortunately, it was an executive session that was very consequential, so I'm not, it wasn't, somebody talking about their dog.
All right.
Okay.
I will say that the reason they're so long is because I did my best to, make them detailed and accurate. But
Yeah, okay, so I understand that, so let's just find a way to do this one, 427, this meeting, and at the same time, we tie everything up nice and neat, so that the other board doesn't have anything, you guys are gonna have a lot of things to do, you don't need to deal with any of this stuff, so, I'll do it as per your schedule, within the 48-hour notice period. You can work on those days with Melissa.
yeah, I mean, so it's like Monday afternoon, I guess.
Monday, I can, it's the 9th.
Monday the 9th, I
Second.
guess. Well, and I,
Time before 3:30, except between 11 and 12.
So 2 o'clock?
Yeah, if maybe you're
Or
only
3
gonna be a
o'clock.
half an hour, I can
3
do 3
o'clock,
o'clock.
we have an hour, whole thing's maybe half an hour. 3 o'clock? Did that accommodate?
it's fine.
Monday at 3.
Alright, so we're gonna meet at 3, Monday at 3 to do it.
Okay.
Now, I have a gift for the board, so you're the only person here on the board, so this is a gift for you. Okay, so you gotta hang it here. So Ralph Waldo Emerson, here's probably one of the last people that learned about him in school. Do you know anything about Ralph Waldo Emerson? Yes.
Come on.
The son of Massachusetts. You taught about Mr. Emerson.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Civil disobedience?
No, that's not the part. So he wrote something that's very poignant that I think should be hanging on the wall of every select board meeting, select board, and I think it's appropriate for Monterey Select Board. So I'm gonna read, I'm not gonna make a speech, I'm just gonna read from his thing. So this is from Ralph Waldo Emerson. And I quote, "Write it on your heart that every day is the best day in the year. He who is rich, who owns the day, and no one who owns the day, who allows it to be invaded with fret and anxiety. Finish every day and be done with it. You have done it, you have done what you could. Some blunders and absurdities no doubt crept in. Forget them as soon as you can. Tomorrow is a new day. Begin it well and serenely, with too high a spirit to be cumbered with your old nonsense. This new day is too dear, with its hopes and invitations, to waste a moment on the yesterdays." Very poignant. So please put this up next to your Koppleman and Page list of here you go. See, wasn't that worth waiting for?
Absolutely.
Oh, what classic select board end with a piece of poetry from Ralph Waldo Emerson.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
I want that in a minute. Bye.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
But yes?
Yeah.